Bacon. Bacon. Small bacon.
Hey, welcome to another edition of JTJU, where we all try to be just a little better at the game of Clash of Clans. I got another new format for you, something I'm pondering. Oh, play on words. Ponder or punt. And that's where, when you're walking around and you hear people talking about attacks, or they show you attacks, you see them on the forums, and it looks really awesome. You've never done that attack before, not that exact way. And so you're like, should I learn this? Should I ponder it? Or should I just, move on? It's a nuance of a certain base, and, it's not really something of my limited time. I need something bigger value out of it, of my time. So in this case, we'll take a look at an attack at Town Hall 10. It's a Quattro lavaloonian using 5 Haste Spells and really skinny, just king and a queen for the kill team, for the we call it a KHC. And then see if it's something that we can repeat. So first, let me just show it to you. I'll walk you through. We'll just do some forward-backwards kind of action in this video. But here's the attack. So it's it's a pretty maxed out base, and here comes the kill team. They get the AD down, and it's a 180-degree arc on the Loons with a nice arc of haste. Freeze in the middle with the rage. Loons are in the middle. Nice backside Loon action, and voila, right? So the question is, wow! And this guy Ghengis did it twice in one war. And the other ones I can show you, but let's just focus in on this one. And so the question is, is this something that's like, if you can do it 2 times on Town Hall 10 max, maybe we need to learn this. So, but then you got to begin to study it and say, well, can I repeat it? Whoops, went too far. So the first thing I want to look at is, the kill squad, the KHC. Is that something that's going to be? Is it the base just gave him an easy one to do, and you're not going to see it very often? And the complexities with this kill squad is the pathing. Notice how he comes in off of 1, and then his king moves in and dives. Right at the queen. Look at that. Look how nicely he moves diagonally and then dives. And you'd be surprised. That's not as easy as it looks. So there's some technique there that you need to be comfortable that you have as far as understanding what gets a king to dive and how the queen will help or hurt that activity, right? Then the question becomes, can your king get to the queen before dying? Because, it's just him and the queen behind him, and the king's the one that's going to get the queen because of the, the attraction after under fire. And in this case, of course he will, because, she's right there, as long as he can get through the wall in time. And then the other thing you got to do is you got to get this AD down, right? And that's not, in this case, the AD is exposed. It's what the queens can shoot it from over the wall. But both those combinations, queen and an AD, both in range of a wall break-in just by a king and a queen, maybe, and also get a whiz tower down, or like a few archer towers. That's really what we're looking for, right? And maybe I'll type that out for you. So if we said the first thing we need to see is the KHC, also known as the kill team. We need to have, we need to get the queen down, and either a whiz tower or 3 archer towers. Bam. Yeah. So if you can do now, that is possible. I see that pretty consistently. So I wouldn't say that's a limiter. So I'd still say this was in the ponder category, right? But is there other things about the attack that make it not often seen, where you don't want to probably learn to do it, right? So here we move into now the Loon deployment. The Loon deployment, 180 degree spot to play on all the things between it, so you can see it comes out. Pretty good, very nice, and it's not a spam of a line. Has about 2 or 3 on each location. So pretty good. It comes out, what is that? 11 seconds? So the timing of deployment's not too fast. So again, I don't think the Loon deployment itself, the Loon deploy, 180 degrees in about 11 seconds. 3 to 4 per defense in that arc. Right, so that too isn't undoable, right? It's something we see quite a bit. So I'd say, yeah, that too we stay in the ponder category. Still something we'd see a lot with bases, something we can repeat. Now here's the first one that's interesting. Now he gets his haste down right after his loons are down. Now watch this for a minute. With the 5 haste, I like haste now with the loon-based and hound-based attacks as the first stage, right? Because you have enough critical mass. When you're looking at your attack, you've got enough loons in the outside line where you don't need a damage buff, but you don't need a damage buff to get what you need down, but you do need a speed buff, and that's why it's a nice place to use haste is on the outside ring. And then when your loons that have been thinned down a little bit, some have died off, a rage in the middle can really amplify the damage of the guys that survive through. So I like that. I like the rage now. But notice that this defense is set up as there's a gapping between that first line of defenses and the interior. So that there's also an extra bonus from where the haste goes and where they actually have to get to. So there's a need for the haste to cover some ground. Also check out how he drops the haste, like right here. Look how it's actually on the edges of some of the loons themselves. So he's not casting forward with his haste. And he does that because watch how when the loons come out of the haste, right here, they're going to carry it almost right to there. That's almost 4 to 5 tiles of speed boost after leaving the haste radius. So you don't have to cast the haste to where you want them to get to where they're doing their damage. You can cast it on them as long as after the radius of the haste spell, your ultimate target's within 4 to 5. You're going to get there. See how they're still pink? See how these guys are still pink? So that's the other note I'll put down. We'll talk a little bit about the haste. So for the 5, we call it 5 ha for haste. We want to cast on, not in forward. And don't try to cover the ultimate target. 5 to 7 tiles from haste edge is okay, right? So again, I still think it's like, okay, well this is working pretty well, right? We've got things that we can do. So far, I'd say, yeah, this base a lot of times could work out. And then we do a freeze, off the middle, rage, another freeze. Now here's a nice technique that happens after that. So I mean, the raging and the freezing in the middle is not that amazing. But what is interesting is look at how, as his team moves to mid, right there. See the loons coming in from 930 right here? So as his team moves to mid, he's actually, because they're going to be clumped. So you see how you've got this big clump of loons? They're at risk now. Whoops, sorry. They're at risk from the whiz tower on the edge. So he distracts them with a smaller group of loons from the edge so that the main clump doesn't get wiped or take massive damage. So that's an interesting technique, even if you don't like this attack. The technique of a distract loon off backside to protect mass clump in mid in late stage attack is good. It's a good thing. So also, like that, so it's like, well, I can do that. So these are all things worthy of pondering. So you're almost like, well, dang, man, I should be out running this attack everywhere. But what didn't you notice? And I had to watch this a couple times before I realized, well, shoot, where? And the question that you should be asking yourself is, where's the CC? Notice how no CC comes out here. And it was the same with the other attack as well. When I asked Ghengis about it, he pointed out, well, there were Hounds in both clan castles. I was like, okay. So, but he also didn't get a scout. So he was kind of this is kind of a high risk, high reward attack if you haven't scouted or somebody else hasn't attacked it yet. Because if a dragon comes out of there, or if ground troops are in there, So let's go back to the beginning of the attack. If ground troops are in there, I don't know, man. Yeah, you wouldn't. Your kill squad, your KHC would still get it done. But then, I don't think your loons would do so hot. They would get smoked by anything that's CC that's not a hound. So really, you're kind of dependent on the CC being hound. But that happens. But it requires a scout. And attacks at Town Hall 10, you know, you don't want to be scouting when you're Town Hall 10. So if you've got Town Hall 7s in your clan, you can scout up on your Town Hall 10s. Or if you notice during prep day that 30 goes into the CC, right, it was like plunk, then maybe you could risk it. But you got to have a hound, and that isn't always the case. I mean, the expos were up, right? All 3 expos were up, so that's not something you can toss out. But in combination, I guess let's add that. You know, the CC must be loons. Right. So in combination, I think all those factors, I mean, you need the base, a little spread, you need to have this moat, you need a moat kind of symmetrical. 4 days, 1 per quadrant, right? So you have that kind of symmetrical feeling, so that when you do that arc, you don't get over damage on your loons, and that they also aren't getting pressured from the mid right away. That inner circle of a gap, in this case it's a garbage ring, but there's a gapping between that and the Teslas and the Expos. I think that's important to the flow of the attack working. But if you have that inner gapping between, there's a core of defenses, there's a gapping, and then there's your outer ring of defenses, this may function if you've got the Hounded and you can get the symmetrical thing. So think about it. It's a good attack. I mean, he did it twice, and you don't see that very often. And the clan he was in, it was all Town Hall 10s and a couple Town Hall 9s, and he was the only Town Hall 10, was one other guy, that had 2 3-stars. And most of the guys didn't 3-star at all. So it's a quality attack either way, Ghengis. Good job, and thanks for sharing it. So I hope it helps you guys. Otherwise, I guess we'll talk to you later. See you.
Don't touch that, Larry.
Touch it, Larry. You know you want to.
Larry, don't touch
Larry,
that.
do it. Do it, Larry.
Larry!
Yes! Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life, Larry.
What'd I
Good
just say,
job,
Larry?
Larry. Good job.